Welcome to episode 2 of our podcast, Stages Retreat, home of all things dad and games related with current events, along with anything else we can think of. My name's Nathan, and this is my co-host Lee.
Hi.
And today we'll be talking about some of our experiences of being a father. So, Lee, tell us a little bit about yourself as a dad.
Where do you start? Where do you possibly start with that as a conversation? Ask anyone that and they're just going to go, oh, it's hell. And It is hell. It's the worst thing that you can have to interrupt your life. And that sounds terrible, but in a way, it's understandable as a dad. I think you'd understand it because you kind of have this little plan, don't you? Yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then it's suddenly like, hang on a minute. My life has totally changed. Literally, it's the biggest change that can happen to somebody. I was a dad very early. I was 21 with my daughter Amy, who's now 20. She's probably listening to this, so if you see her come by and like nudge me, it's because I've said something horrible about her. I'll try not to. Mm-hmm. It started off with Amy. It was the year she was born in 2000, I've got four children currently, if I get the ages right, 20, 17, 14 and 11. Or the 11 one acts like a 15-year-old that's very angry. You've heard her plenty of times. If I go just going through like on a one-by-one basis, Amy's great. She's a bit of a nerd. She has my sense of humour. She likes a lot of things I like, but she's also a bit of a weeb. I don't mean that in an offensive way. She's very interested in like Asian culture. She's great. The first is all, I think they're all obviously very important. First is kind of special, right? Is that fair to say that?
Because that's when you become a dad, isn't it? That's
like the love is equal.
That's the love
is equal. Yeah. It is. It genuinely is. But the first is it's that, when it comes out, when it pops out, and then it's like you get a scrub, and then you hold it, and it's at that point. If you don't feel your life change at that point, then there is something wrong with you. Something's not right. But I was always growing up watching Only Fools and Horses, and Del Boy, when he had was it Damien, wasn't it? Do you remember? Yeah,
Damien,
the devil. So when he had Damien, he held that little boy, and he went up to the window. I don't know if it was the end of like a season or whatever it might have been.
I know the scene.
And he went to the window and he was talking to Damien, holding him and just talking to him and saying he's going to give him the world and all that. And that was me. And I hate to say I was copying the scene, but he kind of was like a copy of that. I held her and I remember talking to her when she was really tiny and just having tears in my eyes because it emotionally hit me on a level which I'd probably only experienced once or twice before. It was an utter punch in the face. Like I'm just like, bam, you're a dad. Fuck. Oh my God. And everything suddenly, all your life was orientated towards the safety, the protection. I don't like saying this because I know some people it'd be quite offensive, but because of my experiences or limit of experiences with my father, that ultimately gave me a direction for my fatherhood to head in.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything about my dad because there are people that grew up with him and he was a great parent, and full credit to that. That's fine. But I was before all that, and then I was like, even I don't fully understand it. I've heard both sides and separate sides to that story, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and I just, because of that, I just kind of, whatever, I just shrug it away. It's nothing to me, other than the negative part of it help influence the positive side of who I am as a parent, even who I am as a husband. The things, I am not perfect. I am, and I'm fine with that. But if we were all perfect, oh my God, what a boring world. If politics was perfect, imagine American politics at the moment, it'd be boring. But that's not the case. With the election coming up soon, potentially America's just going to go like... So we'll see what happens with that. But so like I say, Amy was the massive changing point in my life, and it's very important to me as my first. And she knows that. She mentions that, like, if they're having a bit of banter, she's like, "Well, excuse me, I was the first. I'm the most important." And it's like, right, shut up. Yeah. It's not exactly like that, but shut up. Yeah. But then, of course, the others sort of came along, and I have. You've obviously got Lewis, haven't you, as your oldest?
Yeah. He's about to turn 17 in February.
Is it?
So I've been a dad not as long as you.
Not quite, but close.
And I started young as well at 17 when my girlfriend at the time got pregnant, and then I had him when I'd been 18 about a month.
Yeah, I feel like I knew that, but I'd forgot that. You were so young.
Mm. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm happy you think so. I don't feel very young. But,
no, not you are so young. You were so young as a parent. That's like when you're at school and you find out you've left school and you find out someone's had a kid and you just go, well, we knew that was going to happen. We knew she was going to be pregnant. Was she pregnant at school? It's one of those sorts of conversations and situations.
Yeah.
Lewis is a good lad. I haven't met him, but I spoke to him, and your influence, obviously. He's grown up mostly with his surrounded by his mum, hasn't he? But
we split when he were 4. I think he were 3. I think he was just about to turn 4. And before that, I'd basically brought him up. His mum, she got postnatal depression, so she didn't. And I don't think she wasn't emotionally mature enough, I think, for a child. So it was
same with.
I did a lot. Yeah. And we're bringing him up and looking after him, and it were basically just me on my own with her sort of sprinkled in. But then when we split up, it were not a nice time for him. And then there were a number of years that I didn't see him, not through anyone's fault really, other than she sort of stopped me.
I think we have to be careful not to be attacking people. These situations are very complicated. I think we need to be. I know you're not stupid, but obviously you can easily go from making a little comment to a full-on attack. Like I had to back off from that a few minutes ago, and I think we have to be sensible about this. But you see him. You see him a lot. You're a big influence to him.
We share similar interests, which is good because he's took on my gaming enjoyment side, my personality.
Addiction? Was that the word?
Borderline addiction. So there's lots of things he's took on in that side. I mean, he plays more games than me at minute. Well, always for the last couple of years, but that's because he had more time and he's a kid, so he gets loads more free time. He doesn't have to cook a tea or anything like that.
The way he reminds me of you is that if he gets a game, he's straight online, straight onto the wiki. He checks out the YouTube videos, and like when we've played with him before, he'll be like, "Oh no, you don't want to do that. You want to do this," and it's like, okay, just try not to be quite so condescending, but yes, that is which I think pretty sure you pulled him up on a few times and been like, all right, calm down.
I think he's still finding his feet, and he's still trying to prove himself because he's of that age. He's just left school. Well, not just, but with COVID and everything, he missed out on the leaving part of school. So he's at college now, but he. I'm happy with with the way things have turned out with him and where he's heading, because he wants to be an English teacher.
Oh, is that what it is now?
That's obviously good. Yeah. But he did say he wanted to be a dentist at one point as well, which is not really similar. So, but hopefully he'll stick with this. And then he enjoys films, which I enjoy critiquing films and watching all different types of films. And he's doing that at college as well. It's like a sort of hobby side sort of thing to get into it, which I'm happy about. But yeah, I had a similar feeling when you were born, like you said, where it just sort of washes over you to be that you're now a dad, that you've got responsibilities and stuff. The weight of that, but I think it's a manageable weight, because I think for dads it comes in parts rather than like a woman might give birth. They're overwhelmed with stuff, and it's that need. I think it builds up with a dad over time. So I think it can be a bit more manageable. That's probably why you don't hear as much about postnatal depression and stuff in men. It might be just because it's not a reported thing or something, but I feel as though it was manageable. I mean, his birth, it was quite traumatic as well. He got the umbilical cord wrapped around his stomach.
I've not heard of that. I've heard of neck, definitely. Yeah.
It was round his stomach. So every time a contraction happened, it cut off his oxygen. So it was very nearly a cesarean. They just happened to manage to get him out just in time. But it was touch and go at one point, whether it'd have to be a cesarean and things. I think the whole birth lasted, I want to say 22 hours or something like that. So it were a long, arduous. I didn't sleep for 3 days. But he's all being well. It was fine afterwards.
I mean, they're very good with stuff like that. They identify it very quickly and they sort it out, don't they? Karina didn't have any. I can remember. I didn't say it now, but she'll be like, "Yes, I did." I don't remember anything serious with Karina in regards to birth. Of all four, to be fair, I don't think there was anything particularly bad. Only complication, there was something with Jack caused a lot of pressure because he was quite big. He was just under 10 pounds. He was a big baby. I mean, there's obviously a lot bigger, but you go, once you're pushing 10, people are like, ooh, and I'm like, it was easy, it's fine. But he ruptured all of like Karina's stomach wall, all the muscles.
Yeah.
So that was she has issues with that.
That happened to Jade. That where the like, I don't know, I can't remember what you call them. They're like the 6-pack muscles.
We're not medical people.
We're not medical people. But the sort of six-pack muscles on Jade were like stretched apart. So I can remember when she got, I think it were with Olivia. So when she got quite big, because she's quite petite as well, you could see like a prominent ridge running down her stomach. You know, like where there was just no muscle. That was
the same with Karina. Yeah. And it's quite odd. Yeah. It's like, oh, that's a thing. Yeah. Oh, okay.
That's like just skin, and then it's womb and baby just through there. There's nothing really much in between. Jade did really well on her birth too. They were, other than she's got this. It's good for her, but nobody else around her. Whenever she's in pain, like she broke her arm when she were a kid, she just goes to sleep, which is a bit dangerous. It's good for her because she doesn't feel the pain, but after both births that she's had, she just went to sleep for about 8 hours. You could not wake her. But
so she's kind of hibernation.
Like defense mechanism. I just need to fall asleep and just let everyone else get on with it.
Wait, I'll be back. I'll be back, and it's like recharging. It's like recharging, but that's good. That's with my youngest Alice, she had problems with her when she was born. I can't remember exactly. I don't know whether I've omitted it from my memory, but she had to stay in the hospital for a week after she was born. So there was something about her oxygen and temperature weren't where they needed to be. So she were in hospital for a week, and it had unfortunately just started a new job. So I had to phone in sick for the first week that I was there. I literally turned up on my first day and then got a phone call. I've gone into labour, I need you to come home. And I made her wait until I finished work because I didn't want to make myself look bad on my first day. Can you just hang on a minute and just let me to get this shift over with, right?
Yeah, yeah. Luckily, I got to leave at 4 o'clock, and by the time we'd managed to get home, I think she had her at about 10 o'clock that night. But yeah, she was in for a full week. I can't. I know she was poorly. But I can't. It weren't too serious. It just she weren't where she needed to be. I think it was weight wise and temperature and blood and oxygen in the blood or something. But she's fine. She's fine now. I mean, she's 8 years old, so she's had time to get over it.
Yeah, of course. I was going to say, yeah, she's all right now.
Running around being a little tad.
Yeah. I love a little voice. I still, like I said to you before, the little Yorkshire, Sheffield sort of accent. I love it. It's so cute. Yeah. It is genuinely just so cute.
She seems to have got it a lot stronger as well, which is weird because Jay's from Brighton, from down south, so she doesn't really have Yorkshire accent. I've dulled mine down as much as I can, but Alice she's running around e-bike and
saying you've dulled it down. It seems a bit offensive, but the strong Yorkshire accent can be off-putting to a lot of people, can't it? And people take the piss a bit. And I think you're fairly well spoken in the way you come across, and I think most people that do that tend to get rid of those little slang terms and they sort of disappear a little bit, don't they? And with it, the strong accent. Now, obviously, you've got one or two friends, well, one in particular we won't mention, and his is he just gives no shits. His accent is, and it's just like, even I that can understand it perfectly fine, I'm like, God, what's he on about? It's just like, it sounds like he's back in time. Some sort of last of the summer wine era sort of chatting on a farm sort of thing. Has he ever spoken to a real person?
I think with Yorkshire accent as well, they get you get a lot of people, not that they put it on, but they emphasise certain points. Yes. Like I've sent you a couple of times, like stupid sayings, like what Yorkshire people say, and see to see if you can read them. And I think a lot of people they just emphasise that, and I try not to. I try to steer away. I don't know, but the range of people that I've talked to are from all over. So, like with Jade's family, all from down south and stuff. They can barely understand me, so I had to sort of change the way I speak to them, because you could see like deadness in their eyes when they were looking at me. Like I'm talking to them, and they're like, thinking, I can't understand a word he's saying, but then they've got a very strong southern accent as well. So
this spins off to a great tale, which is a bit of a laugh in our house, and I think with Karina's parents is that Karina's has Jamaican descent, and her she has an uncle by marriage I think he came over from America, but he's from somewhere in the Caribbean, and I'd do him a disservice if I tried to guess. I don't think he's from Jamaica. I think he's from somewhere nearby. He might be. I'm sorry if you ever see this. You clearly could be from Jamaica. I don't know. But his accent is so strong, and he has a way of talking that I can only understand probably 30 to 40% of what he's saying. But the key with him, I absolutely love him to bits. His name's Errol. The key is that when he laughs, if you laugh, then it's fine. Because he's very humorous. He's always like having a bit of a joke, and he will always like point at stuff and make little comments. I haven't seen him in a while, but then he always accumulates in this little laugh, and then it's like, that was a great conversation. And then you move on, and it's not. I feel rude and sort of saying it like that, but I mean, he's a wonderful person. It's a great family, but it's always quite funny to have these conversations, and I quite enjoy the conversations because there is a lot of sense there. It's always like you know the topic of the conversation, you know what's going on with it, but I feel like I miss bits of it, just through me not quite understanding him. But I think a lot of people agree with that. But I think I'm just the one that doesn't. I can't. I think Karina's a lot better with it, but I think I can't quite understand as much because I'm just this like native UK white boy that's not exposed as that much to this sort of way of talking. But yeah, we've wandered massively off the topic of children, so we're going to jump back in. So I've only mentioned Amy, but of course I've got 3 others. I've got Jack. He's my 17-year-old. He's doing his second year of A-levels, local comprehensive school, and he is doing extremely well. You know Jack. He's also, I don't know if he's stopped growing yet, but the last measurement he was 6'2". I'm just under 5'11", so I'm not small by any means, but he towers above me. I'm like one of the shortest in my males in my family. I'm like one of the shortest. Most of them are over 6 foot, and they're always my kids always take a piss at me like, "Oh, he's so small compared to this," and I'm like, "I'm not small. I'm just smaller than these gigantic people in my family." Do you know what I mean? Like, don't call me small. I mean, I walk around and I'm bigger than most people, but it's like, these are. I got some cousins who are over 6 foot. I think all my uncles were over 6 foot, or maybe not John. I think he might have been the smallest one. But yeah, then my son, he's got it and he's tall as well, which is great. I think when you're growing up, you always want to be like 6'6". I want to be 6'6". You know, that's like kind of, there was a mentality of being big and over 6 foot. And I'm like, God, actually, when you're getting over 6 foot, in some ways that's too tall because you become a little bit noticeable. Like, people notice you when you're bigger, and also old people use you to get tins off the shelf, which has happened to Jack numerous times. When we was in a bookshop a couple of years ago, and this woman had said, "Could you just get me that?" And he laughed. He looked, and I'm like, "It's fine." And then he'll get it, and then she asked him to like put it back and get another one. It was hilarious, but I think it was at this point he's like, "Shit, yeah, I am tall." People are asking me to do stuff. I mean, I could have got it because it wasn't that high, but because Jack was the tallest, he was the one that was approached to do it, which was hilarious, absolutely hilarious. So he's my second, and then my third is Paige, who is probably still asleep right now. Paige is a little bit different to the other ones because she's homeschooled, as you know. We go through various topics throughout the week. It's not massively structured, which is fine because that's what homeschooling for her was about, getting away from people, crowds, the school environment. It wasn't her. And some people are massively against this, and I understand it, and I won't attack them for thinking like that, and it's fine because I have two that, I mean, Holly's going through school fine, Jack's going through school fine, Amy had issues at school, but that's a little bit different. Although it's in some ways it was similar, but it's another story. But Paige, it was within the first few months she just wouldn't go. She didn't want to go. Yeah. And we went through various avenues, and everything hit a dead end. So we took which it was a big decision, but it was an easy decision to take her out of school. Which in the UK you can do. You just literally need to write a letter to the head. I am taking her out of school. I'm deregistering her from the school. And from basically cutting ties with education. You have to be clear, I'm not transferring her, I'm taking her out of the education, I'm going to be having her at home. And we do our own thing. The one good thing about that is that she can follow what she wants to follow. So if there's a topic that she wants to do, she can throw herself into it and learn all she wants. And there's benefits to that, but there's also some stuff she misses out on. There's a social side which we're working on with her, but that was part of her problem. So I accept that's the difficult element of this. She won't be doing the GCSEs, which people are against as well. They're like, well, she should be doing them. I'm like, no, you should be doing them if you're in the education system, but she's not. She's outside of it. The plan, the very rough, flexible plan, is that we will basically get her educated to a good level of maths and English, which is very important. Although, let's be honest with you, 99% of what you learn in maths you never use out of a maths lesson. And it's great when she finds something that she hates doing. It's like, oh my god, fractions. Fractions. But we work on it. We're going through it. Yeah. And I'm like, fine, we don't need to do anything complicated, but get a grip of it. Because at some point you might be like, oh, that's useful for this, even though you don't You might not think it is. It's still related. We're going through English. I mean, half the people I know have a very poor level of English. So she does like English. She's learning more and more. If you can get the basics of grammar and punctuation, I think you'll be fine, because there's a lot of adults that they may claim that the common claim is now is I'm autistic, or I have learning difficulties, but a lot of it, I'm not denying that exists, but I think a lot of it is just sheer utter laziness, and they didn't pay attention at school, and it's not difficult. It's not difficult to use sentences. It's not difficult to. Sometimes it just takes a bit of time. You know, I think that a lot of time people just haven't bothered to learn the basics. Practice those basics; they'll get you far. If you can master the basics of English, you're fine. You don't need to know the difference between a colon and a semicolon to get you through. You know, you don't need to learn what an adjective or a noun, or you don't need to learn these. And people are, you'll have an exam and it'll be find the adjectives, and it's like, no one cares about this. For this is something I'm not pushing with Paige. She's very good with her writing. She's currently writing a diary. Her English at the moment, she's writing a big story involving a diary, and she's doing really well. I'm really pleased with her. The plan with her is that we'll get her up to a good level, because when you go to college, which she aims to do, when you go to college, you don't need a qualification to go to college. It's a bit of a misconception. You don't need to be. It helps if you have. Let's say you have good GCSEs. You can go in at a high level course. That's the way it works. But if you're a little bit lower, or if you have nothing, they assess you. You can go in. I know one of our local ones. I saw an article about it. So as a homeschool child, she would go in and she'd say, right, I want to do whatever, art and design. Let's just say top art and design. They'll go, okay, come in. What you can do is you can do this assessment, and they'll look at your English, your maths, they'll look at other things, and they'll be like, all right, you're competent. And it's a level of competency which is important. It's not the difference between an A, a B, and a C in a qualification. They don't do it now, but as an older GCSE, probably not that much difference. You know, that's why they say if you can get a C, it used to be like 3 C's and then you're in. You know, but it's just to show a level of competency. So if she can achieve that, she'll be fine. She'll go in at a lower level, and she might spend the next 3 years at college, whatever. It's fine. You've got people are in a rush a lot of the time, but she'll have plenty of time. There's no rush. Her bedroom's not going to disappear. Yeah. She'll still get fed. You know, she'll make some friends, and she'll carry on. She'll be fine. She'll be okay. I'm not worried. Just think of it like that. I'm not worried. Other people might be worried, but it's none of their business. The bad side about homeschooling, as a whole, not for us, but as a country, is that a lot of people take kids out of school for the wrong reasons. A lot of people, there's a lot of worry. I think there's a big thing about it in France at the moment, where children, as in like whole families of, the thing is with us, it's 1 out of 4. So as they look at us and they go, oh, there must be a specific problem there was an issue with one of them, and it's easier to kind of to explain, you know. Now I know someone, you know, Russell, and I want to get him on here at some point. He homeschools all his children, and I think this would be a topic that would be very interesting to talk to Russell about. I'm not even. I've spoken to him once or twice. I think this is something we'll bring up if we get him on. If he wants to come on, we'll get him on and we'll talk about it. I think he'd have some very good points for it that we could discuss. And even if you don't agree with them, I think it's good to put it across, because sometimes you get a bit, because he does all of his children in a homeschool fashion. I think maybe he could be blind to some aspects of the positive nature of being at school. Ideally, I'd have Paige at school. I'm not going to lie. if she said I could go to school tomorrow, I'd be like, we'll get you sorted, we'll get you in. I'm not sure about the moment. I think it's a mess at the moment. I think it would just piss her off. We don't think it would help. It would have to be a natural school environment, not this live in a box and you've got a bubble. Oh, and by the way, 15 of your teachers are off school with coronavirus. I think that situation she wouldn't want to be in that. As a lot of kids don't. But yeah, if I could get her back to normal, I think it'd be fine. I think she'd probably enjoy it as well. But going back to France, I think there's been identified, because they've got a bit of a religious extremism issue over there, as the news, as you've probably seen in the news at the moment, won't get into it too much, but there's a lot of families which are taking their children out of school, but then not offering them a satisfactory traditional level of education through math, whether it's maths and English. Those two are the basic ones, aren't they? Maths and English. I'll just go for those. They're not offering enough of that, but what they are doing is they are forcing a lot of religious education on them, and I think the balance is out, and it's developing a lot of hatred. This happens with Christian communities. I know it happens in America a lot. I've looked up a lot of this to do with homeschooling. I know it happens in America a lot with a lot of Christian communities, and I believe it happens in France a lot with some of the Islamic communities as well. They're taking the kids out, and then it's kind of like they have them. And I mean, anyone could do it. You could, like in this country, let's say there was a family which were they could be very racist. They could take their children out, and they could basically, because you, as a parent, what you say to a child is very, don't know how to explain it. It's law, isn't it? So if you say to them, don't trust a certain type of person, whether they be Asian or black, or it could even be white people. This racism is on both sides. It's not good, and I think in France at the moment they're identified a lot of this, and they're trying to protect their way of life by ensuring that their children aren't brainwashed too heavily. We all brainwash our children a little bit, I think, but not. You don't want it to an extent of it being dangerous, because these children could potentially grow up to be haters of things that they don't need to be hating. So that's Paige, and my last one is of course Holly, who is my she's trouble, 100% trouble. So they have these punishments at school. They call them like C1, C2, C3, C4. I think it's just what is consequence. C means consequence. Now Jack, they go to the same school. Holly and Jack do. Jack's last year of A levels. She's bottom of the rung, year 7, and she's like, I've got a big brother, that kind of stuff, which I love. I think it's brilliant. I never had that, but I think because she can say she has. I don't want to say she's threatened children with Jack. Jack is soft as shit. Jack ain't gonna hurt anyone, but she's 100% at times said, I've got a big brother, and they've backed off. They've been, okay. And also because he's in sixth form, it makes him a superior human being in this rung of year 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It makes him, it's like leader of the pack sort of thing. Also, he's very popular with the teachers. So if Jack was to say someone was bullying or someone was doing that, they would believe him. They wouldn't even question him. They'd be like, yep, no problem, we'll sort it out. He's a very credible witness in terms of his reputation at school. But yeah, she's trouble. So he's never had what they call a consequence. However, Holly came home and she'd said, oh yeah, I got a C1. And a C1 is literally, I think, a teacher just turning around and saying, be quiet, and then like writing the name on the board or something, so that they're aware that they've had it's like a little mini warning. And then a C2 is a little bit more of like a double warning, and then it just gets worse from that. C4 is like what we would call a detention. And she'd come home and she'd gone, oh, I've got a C1. And Jack, who was like in another room listening, had just gone, Holly, you what? And he was very upset with that. He was like, oh my God, you've messed.
It's going to ruin his street cred.
100%.
That is his unblemished
He's like
record.
this golden boy who's never had it wrong, and then it ends up being that his little sister has had this. It's not a punishment, but it's this C1, and he was like, "Oh my god, we were dying, absolutely dying," because of course, because she's our little rebel, she's our little monster. Yeah. She's the one who will. I've told her to because she can be quite gobby. Quite proud of her in a way. She's very. She can be very dominant with the way she comes across, and I'm sure it will benefit her in some way at some point. But I've told her that she has to defend the little person. So if she sees anyone getting picked on, she's the one that can turn up and be like, "Excuse me, what do you think you're doing?" And she's already done it once or twice already. So I'm very proud of her. She's very. She's. I want her to like stamp. Put her a stamp on who she is early on, so people are aware that you don't mess with Holly, because Holly will retaliate. She's one of the ones that won't let it slide. I've told her she has to be careful not to be a bully. She can't be someone that's horrible, but she can be someone that's known as a like if you mess with her in her circle, she'll be like, "What do you think you're doing?" And that's all I want it to be. I want it to be you can't say that, you can't do that. Who do you think you are? And if you push her, she's going to push back. That's who I want my Holly to be. And because she's had a few issues before where she's not defended herself well enough. Not physically, I'm on about just like emotionally, verbally. But she's getting a bit older now, a bit more confident. We've witnessed her argue with older children, a lot older, and win. And if she can do it once, as far as I'm concerned, she can do it again. This older child had basically at the end of this little scuffle, this verbal scuffle that they'd just end up name calling her and walking away. And Holly had come in, and I went, "You won that, by the way. That's a win." If someone throws insults at you, whoever they are, whether it's someone on Facebook or someone in the street, if they throw insults at you, you're winning that situation. As long as you're not in the wrong, you've won. So you can walk up, just be like, whatever, done that. Yeah. If that's all you've got is to, call me a dickhead or whatever, then you've lost, because you haven't got anything to contribute other than these little words you're throwing at me. It's nice to call people, obviously, sometimes to give them one, but she's a good girl. She's doing well. I think she'll do okay. Oh, and as for 4, there won't be a 5th because dinner, it wasn't comfortable for a bit. They didn't. If any of you are thinking about getting it done, feel free to hit me up. I can tell you all about it. And it's fine. Yeah. It was fine. Although I was warned by the doctor, 1 in 3 patients that have this done have chronic pain for the rest of their life. Like, they have this pain. And I'm like, I don't think that's true. If it's true, why don't we know about it? If it's a 1 in 3, as a result of this common thing.
I've never heard of it.
No, it was even in some written paperwork, like 1 in 3. I'm like, you fucking wrote this yourself, you daft twat. Like, it was a good doctor, it was good. But he did say that he's the only doctor / surgeon who has ever had it reverse itself twice in his knowledge.
What doesn't that mean that he's not a very good doctor?
Well, he's apparently...
If his work's not set.
Yeah, well, unless it's just a coincidence of it, it's just this massively rare, and it's happened to him because it's like winning the lottery twice. It's that kind of a thing. It can, of course, it can happen. The statistics are there, but it's just very much not likely to happen. He said to me, and he was quite proud of it. He was like, because I guess even some horrendous things you can be proud of in a weird, morbid way. He was like, and I'm like, is there a possibility it couldn't work? And he's like, I don't know whether he expected it, but he was definitely prepared for it. He's like, yeah. So basically what's happened is you get caught. It gets caught and then like sort of tied. I don't know. I feel that's the diagram that I saw. Could be wrong. It was a little while ago.
Yeah.
But the body, he was saying the body has this, has a very miraculous way of trying to fix itself. So if this something goes wrong, they can basically rejoin somehow and it can work again. I was like, what? I don't want to be 6 months down the line, not my wife turn around and go, oh, yeah, I'm pregnant. That ain't that's not in my plan. That's not my timeline. That's not my plan. I've had my 4, which is arguably more than what you need or want or whatever, but I justify it because none of my cousins have any children for whatever reasons. So I'm keeping, as far as I'm concerned, I'm keeping my family going. There's plenty of people that don't have children. So, but yeah, fatherhood as I think I waffled on a bit more than I thought I was going to there, but fatherhood is definitely one of those. It's great. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't even through the pain, the horrific bad moments that we've been through, and we've had some very bad times, emotional times. Just like, I think me and we could probably agree that as a parent, the most important thing is always support, always be there. You know, never judge too harshly, even when things go wrong. Like if someone was to, one of them was to do something or that was bad, find out why, support them. It's like these prisoners that keep reoffending that just get worse and worse and worse and worse until the end of the prison. This circle of just never getting out, and it can happen with your children if you don't. We've seen kids that have not been brought up properly around here, and they've never got better. They've just got worse.
Yeah.
Support them always. There's a problem. Find out what's wrong. Give them a solution, or give them an option of a solution that they can take. Explain how things should be done. Obviously, that has to be. If we don't know how to do things properly, then they're never going to learn. Keep an eye on their peers. Who are they hanging about with? I've always been very tight on who my kids hang about with. Especially with Holly, she's got a few friends which I'm like, that one is not healthy. Do you know what I mean? Don't let him or her influence you. And she's always been quite good though. And there's been times when Holly's found out that someone who she thought was a friend is in fact not a friend, and I'm like, look, you have to remember that if this child has treated you bad once, they can do it again. Even if they apologise, children are not. I don't trust children. I'm like, you need to just keep them there. Do you know what I mean? There, and just kind of roll with it. Just don't trust them with anything too much. From what I can make out, I don't think your kids have had too much problems at school.
No, luckily up to now it's all been good. I mean, Olivia's same age as Holly, so they've both gone up to year 7 at the same time, and it's done Olivia a world of good. She's come out of her shell more. If anything, she's become a little bit more of a teenager, which is, I don't know if I'm happy about that yet, but we'll see after a couple more strops. But she's blooming since she's gone into secondary school, because she's come from primary school where I can't remember the split between boys and girls, but it was something like there were only like 5 girls in their entire class, to go into secondary school where it's a even 50-50 where there's 15 girls, and she's clicked with all of them straight away. I don't know how long it'll last, hopefully all school, but people splinter off, don't they, as you get older and everything. So she's made friends, she's got a good friends group, she's enjoying school. I've had no complaints or anything from her, so I'm happy about all that. I feel
Olivia's experience has been a little bit different from Holly's, and I don't think I'd change Holly's. I mean, okay, in nicer dreamland it would be perfect, but these bad things that do happen to her, they help build her up, and they help define who she is, don't they? And Olivia's positive experience will obviously have an impact on her in terms of who she is. She'll be very positive. Maybe when shit hits the fan for her, if maybe when something goes wrong, maybe she'll, I don't know, maybe she'll not cope with it as well as what you'd want her to. You know, trust being broken might not be something that she deals with very well. Yeah. Although saying that, she might.
Yeah, I mean, she I can't remember what year she were in, maybe 4 or 5. A couple of girls in her class and the other class, there were a little bit of friction, and she managed to sort that out. But they were a little bit worried at one point that maybe she weren't making friends as good as she could be, or there were certain elements, like you've said, certain kids that you get a feeling about that you're like, I'd prefer them not to be friends with this kid. Not saying that they're beneath them or anything, but the influences that come from them don't match up.
If a kid is an absolute pain in the arse, as far as I'm concerned, they're not part of my my standard of child that I accept, and they are. I think it's fine to say that they're beneath your standards. Not, I mean, their standards, they might be fine. School, though, is not. A lot of homeschoolers agree with this. School is not a good place for kids. It's not natural. For thousands of years, we've developed in small social groups, in these little groups and small little schools where, you know a few people and you've just all gotten on fine. But now schools, they pull in from so many areas. And it's just not a comfortable place to be. Even more so now as I think social media. I think social media is the absolute, like, is. I don't prescribe to the common definition, but it's the devil. It's the devil. It's horrible. It puts children in connection with children for too long amount of time. You know, when we were at school back in there, when we were at school, it was you saw your mates at school and the idiots, and then out of school you saw your mates. 99% of the time, the people that you associated with would be your friends, and then every now and again you'd see the idiot. But out of school now, WhatsApp, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter. There's probably more that I don't know about. There's always one popping up every now and again. We've got this new app. We've got this. We can play games. We can talk. And it's like even last night, Holly was in a group, and then Karina took over pretending to be Holly. Hilarious, because Karina was getting annoyed with it. So she's like, "Give it to me. I'll put in a bit more common sense to try and influence this chat." I think they called Holly a racist. You have to remember Holly is mixed race. Sorry if you don't like that expression. It's tough. It's the one we use. No one was ever hurt by saying that. So she's a quarter black and then 3/4 white. Holly is one of the most tolerant people. All my children are of colour, and one of her friends is a little trans person. She born female and likes to identify as a male. Holly has zero problems with this. Like, it's not even a thing. Even as an adult, like I'm an adult. I like to think I'm an adult, not necessarily mature, definitely an adult. Even now, I question it because I guess I don't fully understand it, but I'm just like, what? Hey? And then you just kind of like, oh God. But it's always a case of if you don't have experience with it, you don't understand it, and then you kind of you shrug it off. And I do that a little bit with Holly. I'm like, is it a girl, boy? What? And I have a little joke with her, and she'll be like, "Dad, stop it." And I'm very proud of her because she's up for the rights. You know, she's like, it is what it is. Shut up, Dad, you're an idiot. And I'm like, that's fine. And I'm not. You know, I guess I don't want to say my more extreme views, but you know who and what I am and the way I think about things. But you also know that I'm very tolerant of people for just what they are. You know, you are what you are. As long as you don't treat me like shit, I'm not going to treat you like shit. Just as long as you're a good person, it ultimately doesn't matter. But so they're calling her a racist, and they were saying she was transphobic, and it's like one of my best mates at school was a girl and is now a boy. You can't use this on me, and it's this social media outside of school, which is creating these interactions which they don't need to be interacting with. They don't need to be interacting with these dickheads. And it's very easy. I can just get this keyboard now. I can go on Facebook, find someone that I don't know, call them a dickhead. You know, look at you, I hate your hair. Look at you, I hate you. Look at you, you're horrible. Kill yourself. You know, this is something that I can do very easily, but I wouldn't because I know the real life consequences of this. Children, on the other hand, don't understand the consequences of being an asshole online because it's dangerous. We hear it several times a year. Young girl, young boy, they've done something horrible to themselves, whether it's self-harm or whether it's worse, and it's because of online bullying. And we monitor Holly to a certain degree. She's very open though. If there's a bit of a thing, we kind of know what's going off, and so we're like, just get a rest. Or there was even that stupid thing on TikTok with that guy killing himself. Remember?
We put a blanket ban over
the American who put a shotgun in his mouth. There was that video.
They're not allowed to go.
People were just sharing it. Oh, look at this! It was terrifying. Children. We did the same. Yeah, we did the same for a short amount of time. But then I said to us, look, the people that are sharing it will get bored eventually, and a lot of them are getting blocked. Eventually, it'll peter out, and it did.
Yeah.
And Holly's now she's not been exposed to it. Amy had seen it, and she was like, "Whoa, it's horrible." But she's 20, so she can sort of be like, "Whoa, it's horrible." But luckily, Holly hadn't seen it. So I said, "Look, if you see a video of a guy who's sitting, looking at a computer with a beard,
I've not seen it.
Looked a bit like you." Which he did, actually, not lie. Just the beard and the dark hair looked, that it looked. Yeah, I've seen it. And I'm like, I rummage in the dark areas of the internet sometimes, and I'd come across this, and it didn't faze me because I've seen stuff like this before. But if I was younger, I know it would have had a bit of an impact, and the fallback on children from seeing something like that could impact them in a very negative way. Some people would have obviously been disgusted. Some wouldn't sleep. We're talking nightmares on this. It's nightmare fuel, 100%. And it's just going back onto it. It's these online interactions which you just don't need. Yeah. We didn't have them as a kid. We didn't have these as kids, did we? And it was fine. And I know it's different now. There's this attitude of the times have changed. Yeah, but change isn't always good. Change can sometimes be very bad. And just monitor it, Just keep an eye on it, and generally you'll be okay. And it's all right if you have hiccups with it. If you have that little argument, just reminder that one good thing about social media is you can just block people. And I've encouraged her to you got a problem, just find them, profile, block them. Done. Or just like with some people I do on Facebook, I just mute them. I'm just like, I am sick of your waffling. I'll mute you for 30 days, and then when you come back, hopefully it's gone away. Very rarely has, but it's nice to be able to mute people for a bit. Sometimes you need that break. There are some people on Facebook which sometimes a little bit too much, and it's like, I like you. You are a person. I consider you a friend, but sometimes I don't want to see your waffling. Yeah. And there are some people which feel like they have to constantly. Like maybe once a week, fine. But when it's every day, every other day, this, like, chill. It's fine. No one also, no one cares. You know what I mean? No one cares.
I came to that realization years and years ago when he was in Facebook, and I don't post anything, as you know, like political or religious or even anything. I rarely put anything on. I use it just mainly social media, to keep up to date with
just be nosy, innit?
What's going on. Yeah, just to be nosy. I think that's what most people do. But there are a lot of people that like to be very vocal, which you can be, but like I said, it's sometimes it gets a little bit. It borderline becomes extreme. So you don't need all that negativity in your life all the time. It's bad things are happening yourself, but you don't need it shoving down your throat every time you go to go and see what's happening in the news, or somebody's had a birthday and you want to wish them happy birthday, and then you've got negativity like shot in your face. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not good.
No, exactly. And I think as far as the basics of being a parent, I think that's as more or less covered, isn't it?
Yeah, we've touched on some good things that we can expand upon in other episodes.
Yes, I think it'll there's always going to be stuff that pops up. I think being a parent is hard. It's also fun. It's rewarding. It's punishing. It's everything. It's life. It's just life, isn't it? It's just life. But you just got to make sure you bring them little ones up to be good, just to be nice to people, and I think they'll be fine. It's them little shits that.
That's a good takeaway message. Just be nice and just.
Don't treat them kids like, if you were treated bad when you were little, don't treat them like that. You know what it's like. There was some elements of my childhood I didn't enjoy, but then there was a lot of it which was brilliant. And you try and use that experience, and you take all that good. And don't worry if you lose the plot either with your children. Don't worry if that one day you walk into that kitchen and you just like, and you just wanna punch something. You wanna, because it's natural. Just don't punch anything. Just don't punch anything. Especially your children. It's not good. It's not.
Yeah, that's also a good takeaway message. Don't punch your children.
Don't punch your kids, guys. Don't punch your kids.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I was just.
I think then that. Well, do you want to say something else?
I know you wanted to touch on the coronavirus stuff with the kids and how that's affecting them. But I've already mentioned the school and the fact that schools are heavily restricting movement, and at the same time, you've had it where there's been like a whole year that's taken out of school, and then they're like, oh, you can come back now, and it's just a mess. I mean, for me, what I would like to have seen this year was to be school to just be like, I've only got Holly, really. I mean, I've got Holly and Jack that are in school, but I would have been fine if this year school was just cancelled. I know it would have caused a lot of problems, but children, I'm going to say idiotic teenagers, adults that don't care, and ignorant children. And when I say ignorant children, I mean they're ignorant in the true sense of the word, because they don't realise how easily stuff passes on. Look how when one kid has head lice, all the class can get it just like that. Just because of hanging coats near each other, or the fact that the little girls like a hug, or the boys will be like play fighting or whatever. They don't realise, and it's not their fault. Children, colleges, universities, they should have just gone right back for a year. We're obviously gone. We went tier 3, and now come Thursday we're full lockdown again for a month. There are businesses that are being punished as well, going off the kids' subject, but there are businesses that are being punished in ways that they don't need to be. But that's another day, innit? But it's been good. It's been a good chat. Hopefully we've covered some stuff, and it would be great to get some feedback. Remember, if you do like our videos, hit us a like. I'm not begging. Just hit us a little like, give us a subscribe. We're not out to hurt anyone, we're just out to have a little chat. We're looking to cover a lot more in the future. So it's a goodbye. It's a goodbye from me, Lee, and
it's a goodbye from me, Nathan. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.